Hey, this is Kynan from Silver Tiger Media once again, and I am so honored to be joined by those who dream. How are you guys?
What's up? Yeah, that's us.
Doing
Yeah, we're doing
good.
doing good. We're sitting in Melbourne, freshly caffeinated. Let's go. Happy days.
Beautiful stuff. That's awesome. We are so fucking keen to see you guys at Good Things Festival this weekend. For those who don't know, those who dream, could you give us a little bit of an introduction for yourselves individually? And can you tell us anything about your bands that might entice the attendees to come watch you?
First of all, you just opened the floodgates by saying we were so fucking excited. Now I know that's free real estate, so yeah. No, like, what's up, man? I'm Josh. This is Hazel. We're part of Those Who Dream. We're two-piece and we're really excited to play Good Things. We have really just like spent the teenage years of our life growing up to these bands. So to be a part of this festival and be even considered to be amongst a lineup of rock gods like Bring Me the Horizon, Sleeping with Sirens, unreal. And so especially after a successful year of touring with Mayday Parade and Short Stack and Bring Me the Horizon, Real Friends and stuff, I think this is really just like the best way to cap off the year.
Yeah,
Can be more excited.
things to entice people to listen to us. We combine so many genres. We're big fans of synth pop music just as much as we are as like heavier stuff like in the alt and rock world. We combine all that and try and make it all happen with just the two of us on stage. We swap instruments, do a little drum battle. We have a lot of fun. I think you should definitely check us out.
Yeah, you can rely on the fact that we're pretty good at cardio and we get tired, so you might get exhausted watching us. It's pretty intense.
We'll make sure we've filled up on the protein and all the energy levels we need for the day to come along.
Correct. Yes.
As siblings, you would have had a pretty strong shared passion for music, even to the extent of I found out skipping class in high school to write songs together. What was the first moment you wanted to start a band and write together?
Yeah, so basically we were born in Sydney and we spent a lot of high school in Sydney, and we're in sort of like a smaller band than like with a few other people. And so that was the first time Hazel and I were kind of like, oh, like, you know, we can actually make music. I mean, we hit shit when we were kids. She'd hit fucking pots and pans and I'd be like blasting a trombone or something. Like that's the real roots. But then when it comes to like teenage selves, yeah, we played in a band before we did Those Who Dream. And then when our parents decided to move to Perth, and we obviously disbanded with that band, kind of looked at each other and we were like, we like the same music. We are really feeling the same drive towards creating music as a career. And like I said, we have the same creative interests. We share similar ideas when it comes to like mediums like film and music and even like graphic design and stuff. So it all sort of just made sense from there. And so I'd written a few songs, Hazel had written a few songs. We moved to Perth, and pretty much once we started high school in Perth, we started skipping school and recording our first EP, Luminary, and it was kind of like, whoops. But at the same time, like, yeah, that whole time we were sort of just like, this makes sense. Like it's a no-brainer. We love the exact same bands. So why would we fight this sort of natural urge to just create art together?
Right.
And it was never difficult.
Yeah, and we had so many shared influences because we lived in rooms next to each other. So one person couldn't listen to a song without the other person being like, oh, what are we listening to here?
Yeah, and creating music together, it's so easy to just barge into the other's room like, I have a fucking idea, and they're like, I'm sleeping, dude, what? Just constant, like 100%, like we were always wired. And so I think that slightly gave us an edge above other people, is that we lived together, we were always creating together. We didn't have to schedule time for rehearsals, schedule time for writing and stuff. It was just round the clock, always happening. And even now that we live separately, like it's kind of constant communication. That's kind of what keeps us going.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I was sort of still touching on that topic on like the benefits of working with family and stuff. Are there any challenges that come along with it?
Yeah, so I said we have an edge in that sense, but at the same time, we're siblings. We bicker, we fight, it happens. You know, I would like to think that we have a much better sibling working relationship than, oh God, I'm getting burpy now. Oh, you called me on my burpy time.
I could join in if you want, do an a cappella. Like
All of us in harmony. Beautiful. No, like we've seen siblings working together in the past. We've seen different kinds of working relationships across our career. And I think the backbone of it is really just that we have the same interests. There's no real sort of like, oh, you think this and I think this, because we know at the end of the day, it's always going to come down to us wanting the same thing. So let's just skip the bullshit and just get to there.
Right.
That's how we invert a lot of arguments.
I think, yeah, reminding ourselves of that end goal and how we both have the exact same passion. Neither of us wants it any more than the other one. We both are just, this is what we want to do with our lives. And we're like, well, obviously the only way to get there is to not fight right now and figure out a solution to this.
Yeah, it's true.
Awesome. Are there any pre-performance, pre-gig rituals you like to do before you jump on stage?
Yeah, so we run a pretty a pretty tame green room situation. Our rider includes some freaking corn chips and like a single cider. Like we're not big partiers or anything, so we'll tend to sort of just hang out and talk, like play some music in the background, just like get in the real vibe, especially because we do a lot of our stuff ourselves, like even with setup and live instruments and stuff, like sound check and load in and all that is a pretty hectic time. So before the show, we just want to like get in our zen, get our chill on. Then we have this handshake that we do before a show, which I guess we could share right now.
Yeah.
You're the last interview. We got time.
All right, let's hit the handshake.
Hit the handshake.
All
so it's a little bit of 1, 2, boom, boom, boom.
Woo.
And then we go on stage and we play a show, and it's great. Yeah, legend has it, if we mess up the handshake, whole show's ruined. Touch wood.
That's true. That's true.
Oh, you'll have to let me know if you succeed with the handshake before you jump on for your set of good things.
You'll know.
God help me.
Yeah.
If we suck, you'll know the handshake.
Something
Oh, exactly. I'll be right at the front, so I'm eyeballing you guys. Yeah. Speaking of eyeballs, actually,
Nice.
can you tell me about this floating eyeball worshipping cult that seemed to have sort of started with the film clip for Violet?
Yeah, so eyeball, boy's named Jimothy. It's a good eyeball. I think it all kind of came around accidentally because we wanted to create a surreal music video for Violet. We were living in LA at the time, and we were just like storyboarding this wacky sort of like nonsensical surreal adventure through like this weird cult situation. We didn't really have like a fully fledged storyline over the course of multiple videos. We just sort of had this idea for this one video. And so when we released it, the fans kind of took it into their own hands, and they were like, this eyeball is something. We would like to see more of this eyeball. And they gave it a name. They called it Jimothy. And basically sort of, we never intended on creating a big storyline out of it. But once they sort of had a hold of it and they were like, right, this is an eyeball, and these guys are clearly worshiping the eyeball. This band's obsessed with eyeballs. Their whole thing is like worshiping a cult idea of like a floating eyeball. So we took that and we were like, okay, I like your thinking. And then started just like fleshing out this storyline in a sort of a personal creative way, and creating a sort of entire thing out of it. And now we're still going. We're just getting started with this whole thing. And I think it's really become the bedrock of a lot of our music videos today. And in this sort of section of the band that we're in this sort of era, I think it's really set up a cool narrative for us to then take into further projects like an EP or an album or something. Like we have this whole thing planned out. So wouldn't have started it if it wasn't for Violet. So I think that's kind of where it all manifested into existence.
Yeah, and I think we just realized we had a lot more to say after the first one. We were like, we can actually, like, we've thought about how this facility works, how this cult works. We need to show everyone like all the deep thinking that we've done about it. And every video is an opportunity for us to show more about influences, which is a lot of fun. So we get to do something different and show this world in a different light in every video.
But we like to linearize things too. So this sort of almost comes off our previous music videos before Violet, where we had this kind of like ghosty character thing in Coward and Red Chair and all those sort of things. it really kind of, it ties together in a special way towards the end. So we're just like excited to keep it going and show people more.
Have you ever thought about investing in maybe a like an eyeball shaped beach ball that you can just like throw into the crowd and just have a bounce around? I feel like that's sort of a vision, yeah.
You know what?
I think we actually did that.
We did it, and it was a bad idea because the crowd loved it so much that they stopped watching us perform because they were so focused on hitting the eyeball.
Eyeball was all the hate.
And I was like, keep your eyes on us, guys.
Yeah, I think we need a crowd of thousands of people to justify eyeballs flying around everywhere. But when we had like a couple hundred people in the room, they were just like, oh shit, look at this. And we're like, look at that, we're on stage.
Yeah.
You could have people just like diehard fans up the front who actually knows you guys and actually will pay attention, and then just shoot that shit straight to the back to the people who can't see, and then they
you got the good ideas,
themselves.
man. I like that. Yeah, let's keep that in mind.
Let me know if you need a manager at all.
Hey.
One song I really liked was One of My Kind. I found it like incredibly catchy. Could you tell me about the story behind the song and maybe the inspiration for the music clip?
Yeah, so One of My Kind, I sort of wrote that song in a heartbeat because I wanted to write something that was a little more industrial, a little more Nine Inch Nails, some new Five Sus, kind of bringing some pop back into the mix, because we'd very much like secured a placement with Violet, Tension Headache, Monster. These are all like using more guitars. We're kind of being a little tiny bit heavier with our style. And so One of My Kind for me was me experimenting with some more, I guess like top 10 radio songs production. I was sort of messing around with these like Juno sounding synths and all that and creating like a sort of synthscape for it all. One of My Kind started out as a bit of a sort of like a bit of a story of like me and my girlfriend, how we met in high school and all that. And then when we decided we wanted to make it a single, I was like, well, this could be kind of like a cool like cult idea mindset where it's like two people, they know they want to escape this sort of whether it be mental or physical prison they're in, and they just need to like figure out this escape plan. So One of My Kind is really talking about the whole like, you know, you're one of me. I only talk shit because you're one of my kind. I only, you know, I only get frustrated. I only sort of like lash out because like I know you're with me in this. We're thinking the same thing. We just need to arrive at that conclusion. So it's really kind of like it's a bit of a kind of like escape story between two people getting away from whatever mental or physical prison they're in. Say physical. And yeah, the whole song kind of revolves around that idea of like, you know, run away, get out of here. We're in it together. It's just you and me. Like, you know, the whole world's crumbling behind us, but we're in this together. And I think the production sort of speaks to that as well. It starts off simply, it's very minimalistic. And by the end, it's all happening. Like it's all reaching its climax and kind of, yeah, tells that story in itself.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of the music video, I mean, it's really just like, we ticked off a lot of bucket list things that we wanted to do. One of those being us performing back to back with some cool lights. We were like, we have to do that. And it looked just as cool as we planned, I must say.
Massive concert drum too.
Yeah.
Big ass drum.
Oh, it was really just
contextually doesn't make sense. Who's to say? Looks great though.
Yeah.
As long as it looks cool, like that's all that matters. Yeah.
And then the story, we're just really continuing from this facility storyline we're telling. We knew that these cult members got hypnotized by some sort of visual, so we created the story around that.
Yeah, so like with beginning from Violet, each one of our music videos is just answering some more unanswered questions about this sort of this linear narrative that we're telling. So like we're like, okay, One of My Kind, we need to figure out a few things. What do the lock necklaces mean? How do they have a consistent roll calling system? What is the TV room? What the hell is photopharmacology? Like all these things we had to sort of open up the doors for to kind of make way for the next music video. And so yeah, we're really excited because we can keep doing that with future music videos. But One of My Kind was really this sort of like, okay, we've seen some fucked up shit happening. It's all a bit surreal. It's all a bit weird, but now we're putting it into practice and really seeing contextually what it all means. So it's a fun time.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. That's interesting. Is there any like spirituality or just any certain beliefs that you put behind that while we're sort of on that topic?
I mean, spiritually, I wouldn't say as much. I think Hazel and I both have our own personal things that we sort of like to think, but at the same time, I think having the freedom to create a world that is not necessarily close to our heart, but is something that we truly want to embellish on and truly just pour every ounce of creativity we have into it is something special in itself. It really has no boundaries. We know the sort of world we've created. We've got pages of questions being answered like about the facility and about all these sort of like weird sort of storytelling devices that we've set up. And I think, yeah, like it's sort of just created to be an escape for all of our fans. Like we don't necessarily have a part of the video that we're like, yes, this is truly like us. I think in a nutshell, it kind of all represents a bit of like that mental health, a bit of that youth mindset of like where we stand in the world and what's going on for all of us as a generation, I guess. But at the same time, like, why not just have some weird visuals like a fucking fire ring that we're standing in, or a massive concert drum, or a massive floating eyeball? Let it happen. Let yourself escape into a surreal landscape that doesn't really make sense.
Awesome. That's
There we
super
are.
cool. Yeah. No, that's great. That's awesome. Awesome. I think we can wrap that up there. Thank you so much for your time today. And we are so keen to see you at Good Things Festival this weekend.
Yeah, it's gonna be so sweet. Can't wait to see all the people. I may or may not bring fruit on stage and throw it at the first 5 people. Let's go. Yeah, I might.
Me first.
I got you, man.
Apple in the
Apple.
mouth.
Oh, you'll spot me. I'll have something very catch your eye. Yeah.
I will seek you out and I will attack you. It'll be great. Thanks
Awesome.
for chatting, man.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, you both. This was awesome. Take care.
Yeah, you too.
See ya.